and welcome to another edition of Relatable. I am your host, Stephanie Michelle, and happy 4th of July. Last year on 4th of July, I got to interview two tween girls and ask them what it meant to be American. Their candid answers were hilarious. It's worth going back and watching if you have some time over this holiday week. But this year, as I reflect on what it means to be an American, my thoughts are a little harder to come by. In many ways, I won the luck lottery by being born in America. And in other ways, I'm completely embarrassed to be American. I believe with power comes great responsibility. Countries and people all around the world look to America to do the right thing. How can we do a better job to keep our standards high for being a good example of leadership? Powerful people can be anything they want to be. I believe when an American decides to be a citizen of the world and shows their humanitarian side, there is something more powerful and inspiring in that. Is power always necessary to make a difference? Absolutely not. We cheer on underdogs and sports teams and people who take the long shots all the time, and they win too. Let's never forget that. As I celebrate 4th of July this week, it is that underdog spirit that I celebrate. I'm celebrating people who don't take shortcuts at the sake of someone else's misfortunes. People who work hard, take care of their families, their friends, and respect the fact that they share this country, this world, and everything in it with other people. Today, as I cover myself in stars, check that out, I wear them close to my heart, and I'm issuing this social challenge of the week to all of you. As you gather through over the holiday weekend to celebrate 4th of July, ask each other, what is your favorite underdog story? I suspect in this story exchange, you will be reminded of all the kinds of American experience that inspire you to do the right thing. This foundational spirit is something we can all be proud of. If you're watching via Facebook Live, share your underdog story or your American pride story in the comments. Perhaps it is a survivor story. My guest today knows a thing or two about surviving. I'm very excited he's here today to share his story, and he made a point to tell me, ask me anything, because I believe he knows, like me, that we need to be candid and be real with each other, in this thing called life, if we're going to get past surviving to thrive. So let's thrive together and welcome Ben Shirley to the show. Ben is a composer who previously spent 26 months living in the Midnight Mission, which is a homeless shelter on Skid Row, not too far away from where we are right now in downtown Los Angeles. He's a former bassist for a rock band with hit records, Alcoholism Addiction, in which alcohol addiction rendered Ben homeless in 2011. Today, with 7 years of sobriety under his belt, he's a classic concert composer and an inspiring film composer. Ben is also one of the subjects profiled in an award-winning documentary on Skid Row, about Skid Row called Skid Row Marathon, and regularly works with members of the Los Angeles Philharmonic and Los Angeles member chorale, Vesper's Chorale, as the first composer fellow for the Street Symphony. Love that. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Is it weird to hear your bio read?
Yeah, I think it's. I have to keep it in perspective because by nature I'm a liar and cheat and all the bad things. And if I start thinking of myself, all the grand stuff that I hear, and then I have no shot in living, and I start believing all the hype, and then I'm right back to square one. And past experiences prove that I'm not lucky enough to die, and I just go out there and continue to rip through people's life and suffer. And so hearing that, there's a lot of people helping me, and I'm really grateful for that. And it's crazy to hear sometimes.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing and you sharing that is like, you know, that it's important to stay humble, like to.
Yeah. Well, I have a joke with one of my friends, my friend Ryan. It's like I'm the most humble person I know.
Yeah.
So it's humility. I have to put it in proper perspective. I try to stay in gratitude, and I try to stay humble, and you know, not to the point to where it's just I'm not worthy for anything. It's just I have to keep it all in perspective in my recovery, or I don't stand a shot.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, before we get to that recovery story, which is really rich in examples and things that I think people can learn from, let's just talk about music. Like, what's the root of music for you, or like where did it start? Your love for it.
I discovered music as a kid. At the earliest memories of my parents buying me a Beatle record when I was 5 years old. So I burned that into the ground with my dad. I ruined my dad's turntable as record player and my little green transistor radio. And in recovery, you hear all the time. It's like I always felt separate and apart. And the only thing that would bring me into the now, or it made me feel away from everybody and everything, is my little green transistor radio, and it was just music nonstop. And I would, when I learned to write, I would try to write down the words to songs, and it would just, it's been, it's for sure it saved me from prison, and it's for sure it saved my life.
Yeah.
And that was the greatest love of my life for a long time was music, and in the end, it's funny because I ended up taking a big dump on it, and it's music has been everything to me, and now it has been, been given back to me in a way that before recovery you can't possibly wrap your head around. I still can't believe it. I just trying to work hard not to, what's the word I'm looking for? Not to insult it again, or not to take it lightly.
Got it. So, touring musician, so you're getting to do the thing that you love. We've all heard rock star stories of like the partying, everything's around. Is that where addiction or drugs just came into the picture? Alcohol and drugs, was it after you had some success with music?
I started drinking when I started playing bars at 15 years old. So initially it was the older people thinking it's funny to get the kid drunk, and I had no problem with it because I love drinking from the get-go. And there was always a time where I could keep it in check, to where there's a time and place for everything.
Yeah.
And then I came to a point where I couldn't. But when you start getting, the saying is the better the gigs and the bands, and the better the drugs and the alcohol and the situation. So to ramp it up like that, I think, no one really cares if you have a needle in your eye or in your neck. Can you record and can you play? And if you can, great. Rock's, what a crazy guy.
Yeah.
So, and I probably assume that it's still like that.
Well, you become a product, right? Like the music.
Oh, sure.
When you have a recording record, or you're on a label, you're now just a product, and they don't care what you're doing to make sure that product is producing some sort of revenue.
Sure. If you're controversial, keep doing that.
Yeah.
But if you're ruining the product, stop doing that.
Yeah.
And that's just a 10-hour conversation. It's just it's what you can get away with.
Yeah. So lots of drugs, lots of alcohol. You did heroin, right?
Oh yeah.
How does, walk me through, you're doing other things and then you decide to do heroin? Because for me, I think of that and go, okay, I've done a lot of drugs too. I've experimented, mostly because I've had people in my family that have done a lot of things, and I'm like, well, I want to know what the power is here. But I draw that line there, because it seems really scary. So how did you get there? Like, do you remember the first time where you tried that? Yeah.
Well, here's my thinking. I get out of treatment. I have 3 months, not in recovery, just dry, and there's a whole thing, just dry and not happy. Being dry in recovery or working a program of recovery is two different things. So I was willing to do none of the work for recovery. So being dry is a miserable existence. So what the hell's the point of life? Everything sucks. So I went to a friend's house one day, and I made a comment and I said, thank God I never tried heroin. I don't know how we got on that. And I go, well, I'm just afraid of needles. And he turns around like out of a movie. He goes, no, man, you just smoke it. And he had this thing right in front of him. front of me. It's like, what? And he said, yeah, you smoke it. So grab it and did it a couple of times. And I went, man, so when you see your guy next, can you make that happen?
Yeah.
And it was, you know, a couple of weeks into it, I'm ripping over $300 a day in it. And I had money at the time, and it was, you don't care about the horror stories. It's like, the guy died from an overdose, so I'm not going to do that much, but just up to it, because that must have felt awesome. And I went to meetings, still doing recovery meetings, but I figured I got a little relief. You know, it brought me relief. And but you couldn't smell booze on my breath, so I figured I could hide it. Being a junkie, you know, there's no hiding being a junkie. You're just nodding off and you're a junkie. So I thought I was pulling a fast one and still attending meetings for whatever reason. Why the hell would you still attend meetings? I guess somewhere deep I wanted to be sober, but how do you do that without doing what's required in recovery? So became a junkie, and I don't see other kids do it more than once coming off of it. So I tried with methadone, and I find methadone was just as delicious as heroin, and I ended up doing both, and that wound me up in the psych wards for staying up for almost 28 days and trying to get off of that. And it's, you know, that's an old life. That's my past life, and anything to get me out of whatever is going on in me, just to take it away, man.
And were you still a touring musician at this time, or is this kind of?
I was in a band here in Los Angeles, and we put some records out, and I did that until I was no longer able to function musically. And I had a band that I was in, Walk Off. We had a record was coming out. We played Viper Room, packed house, and I had them walk off stage on me, because I was so bad. And I had always prided myself as, you know, at least I've never ruined a gig or been fired from a band. And they walked off stage, and that was it. And what the hell is the point of music? I finally took a crap on everything, and the love of my life, you know, up to music, and that's gone now, and I just don't care. You know, and it rocketed into as much as I can drink. You know, junkie, but I love drinking more than anything. But whatever you have, I'll take.
Yeah.
You know?
So is this the path to how you ended up at the Mission? Was it ultimately the no more music? So
no, I sat in my house. I had this big house in Sherman Oaks, and I just sat there, and there's this animal, and I would drink all day and pass out and wake up and smoke a bunch of heroin and take Xanax for the anxiety and blow for whatever because it's there. And then everyone just left, and I had some friends in recovery group show up and go, yeah, we're not going to come find you dead, so stuff some dirty clothes in a bag and drop me off at the Mission. And they yanked me out of the house. It's like, take a look at it, it's all gone. Everything, whatever's in my house was a war zone. It was just an absolute monster movie, and it's like, it's all gone. They dropped me off at the Midnight Mission on a Friday night, and yeah, that was the start of it. I still didn't think I had a problem when I went down there.
Yeah.
I still didn't think I was that bad.
Were you upset with your friends, or did you get why they were taking you?
At the time, I really didn't know. It was just like, what? And and when I was down there, and it took me a while. It took me 6 months until I quit hearing voices and hallucinating. I would talk to the people next to me, but I knew they weren't there, but it made me feel better. And after the initial hallucinations and detox process, being at the Mission, meaning just lay on the bed and scream bloody murder, I was resentful being down there because I'm not like you people. And that was my deal. You know, still uppity, still full of myself, still fighting. And yeah, I wasn't angry at them. I was angry at being there. Yeah. And I put myself there. And thank God they came in and saved my life. You know, one of the many people that saved my life. And man, yeah.
So what was the turning point? So the first 6 months, you're kind of detoxing, and you're distanced from the rest of the people there. So you don't you don't consider yourself homeless. You consider yourself different from them. Where did you start to kind of go, oh, I'm here. This is where I am. Like starting to.
Well, it was called pre-admit, and I knew I was there. I wasn't separated. Just the first 12, 14 days, I was in a different section. It's all in this one big dorm room out of two giant dorm rooms, and I realized it's like I'm done. I'm homeless. I couldn't even kill myself after all the psych wards. I tried to walk in front of a bus, it was pulled back. Psych ward, all that. I couldn't even do that, and I'm not like you people, meaning I don't need to be down at the midnight mission, and a week, 2 weeks into it, they're shipping us out after I got out of pre-admit. They're shipping us out to recovery meetings in their vans, and just hating it. And I just finally, I came to a realization one morning when I was sitting in this hallway out where the main offices are, and I always had to live up to something, or I thought I had the tattooed face guy, the angry guy, the F you, stay away from me, and I'm dying inside. And I went, oh my God, it's over. It's all over. I don't have to go back out in the world, which I didn't have anything to go back to, and I didn't have to be this guy. And what am I going to do when I go back out? I can't drink. And it was always that, and who I had to be. And it's over. And the weight of the world was lifted. I mean, I wasn't struck sober. I had to go through a certain process. Right. I went, oh my God, it's over. And I had that, I'm done. And that allowed me to jump into a recovery process, and I vowed that if it didn't work, the only thing that I've done, I did all the meetings, I did all commitments, I did everything they asked me to do other than recovery step work, and if it didn't work, I was going to go in the kitchen at the midnight mission, pull the knives off the walls and start slashing people. Oh, I was dead serious. I mean, it's funny now, but I was going to kill you. And until the cops came and shot me, and I dove into that life or death errand, and God Almighty, I got some relief. And it's just, I mean, I get fired up and I'll start talking fast because this thing works,
Yeah.
Geez, man.
What's coming, something's really moving in me right now while you're sharing this, but what's coming up for me is, you had to kill a part of you, but not you, like you were saying, you kind of said, oh, I tried, I got in front of the bus, but it was, I don't know how spiritual you are, but it feels like something, like a force was saying, okay, yeah, something's going to die here, but it's not you. It's not what you think. You're going to take this part of your personality and put it aside, and then you're going to be okay. Like, I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's kind of what I'm hearing you say. It's like
a little spirituality.
Yeah.
I don't call it, it's recovery. I call it God for short, but a thing that's going on, that's force of, I can't even put it into words what I think is going on, but I allowed something to let the little kid out, and let the person that I stuffed down. There's a Bukowski poem, Bluebird, describes it perfectly. But let the kid out, and this crap that I had to put up in this wall and this mask, and let it go. It's still inside. It's still here. If I start blowing off recovery and not trying to work on being in gratitude and trying to get a little humility, this guy will rise up, and chances are I won't die, and I'll be the guy out in the street for the next 30 years suffering and burning through people's lives. And the kid gets to come out, and I get to, man, it's a beautiful world out there if we let it. If we let it come, and in turn, I get a chance to help others. Yeah. Sometimes reluctantly, because I don't want to do anything because I'm selfish and self-centered. But I get to help others, and that lifts me up, and I get fired up about it. And the people that I'm trying to help in recovery, they think I'm nuts because they don't know. How can you know that this beautiful life's in front of you, or here waiting for you? Because I fought it the whole time. And I don't know. I'm just starting to go off on a tangent.
It's good.
Man, I get fired up.
Man. So talked about 6 months in, and kind of having this wake up, and now you're going towards recovery, and are you thinking about getting out of the mission? Like, is there?
Oh yeah, daily.
Yeah.
No, it's like this. This is it's a nut house basically. God bless the mission. God bless you guys. It's you're on Skid Row, you know, and it's like, man, I don't want to live with 200 other guys. I don't want to go to sit on the toilet with no stalls and it's like, hey, what's up? Or I don't want to be down there. You spend enough time down on Skid Row and all that becomes okay. So you walk into the madness and it's like, hey, it's Tuesday. Good to see you. And, I didn't want to do that. But, it's at 6 months, buying into the recovery program, I did it as fast and thorough as I could, and at 6 months I started school. So that allowed me to travel outside of the area, and I spent a good amount of time over at Los Angeles City's College, which I started school. Which another spiritual thing is like, I have no idea why I said school. Either work or go to school. I'll go to school. What? And I'll choose music school. What the hell? I mean, what the hell? And I feel like and again, spirituality thing was leading me, if I let it, in these certain paths. And it's like, man, most days it's like, good morning, I can't wait to see what the hell's going to go on today. Because if we let it, my dude.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, right? Yeah. So how ultimately did you get out? Like, what was the, so you've got school, you're in recovery, what were the steps to like leave the mission? My grand plan was to stay at the mission 5 years. That's what's going on up here. Yeah. And so I had my, how can I say it with that anonymity? I had my sponsor. It's he goes, so what's your plans after the program's a year, and I went to school and I started getting good grades, honor roll, dean's list, and all this stuff, which is insane. They said just stay put, and whatever it is you're doing, keep doing it. So that's why I stayed, and that and terror. So I told my sponsor, it's like, I'm going to stay here till I get out of there and then move on to a bigger school. So and he goes, when's that going to be? I said, about another 2 years. So you'll be there 5 years? Yeah. He goes, no, you're not. You're getting the hell out of there now. And we had a screaming match. And I found this through my recovery group. A man named John in Culver City had a room for rent, and I left the mission after 26 months after a big screaming match. And I hated him, but it was spiritually, it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. And I got out of the mission 26 months later, and still in the midst of the recovery process and just letting it happen and not fighting. Yeah. Do you remember that day that you left? What it felt like? Yeah, I felt relieved. I felt sad because the place that I hated, I still call home. It's changed some. That's a whole other story, but that's my home. And when I come back down to Skid Row, I see a lot of the same faces out on the street that I saw in 2011. That's sad. But I still see some of the people we have this bond with each other that if we stayed sober up to this point, and like our program says, people that would normally not mix. You've got gangbangers from Compton, and I got me, and you got from all over, wound up at Skid Row, ground zero, to basically, okay, you're going to die, and here you go. And now we have that bond of, God almighty, dude, and we hug each other. It's like, dude, and that's basically dude, and yeah. So it's home. I don't know what the hell you just asked me. I start getting fired. No, it's good. Like, so I want to find the right way to ask this question. Like, do you have a new sense of like how important people are and like to be open to people? Like, and this is my own interpretation. You can tell me, correct me if I'm wrong. It's like I feel like you can get into a lot of trouble when you're isolated. Yeah, when you're not, in conversation, people are kind of checking you, and you can get angry and have all these emotions and like have have a conversation. So, like meeting all these different people, feeling some sort of brotherhood because you're there. Like, did that impact your life in a way? Like you looked at people differently, or the value of like the connecting with people? I still have a hard time with
the career that I have now is I call it legal isolation because I'm writing music by
You're
myself,
in a sound studio,
and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I get to be by myself, but too long by yourself, you don't get that eye-to-eye contact where we see each other. It's like, how's it going?
Yeah.
You know, the Larry David thing. It just gives you up and down. It's like, okay, you know, and we get that, and that's making sure your eyes are clear, and I actually give a shit about someone, you know. So it's like, dude, and it's again, I use dude, and yeah, having a connection in the recovery process of we all got here not by mistake. Most of us didn't get here by mistake. We were bad on death's door. A lot of us were on death's door, and that survival of, oh my God, dude, and yeah, it's isolation is bad for us. I believe. I can't speak for everyone because isolation is bad.
Yeah. I think in most cases, like we see some of these, you know, like these kids shooting kids in schools and stuff, like there's always some isolation path in that, like where someone didn't take the time to connect or you know, told this person they were different and they got isolated off a group. I think that's part of a lot of bad stories, you know, and yeah, so I don't know, you know, I'm sure somebody can make a case for, you know, I think it's what you're doing and, you know, being in a room and you're creating, like, that's good isolation, you know. Sometimes, I love this. I love, like, being around people. I need to, like, chill out and be by myself. Like, you know, it's kind of like anything, right? You just got to moderate, you know, how it is. But too much of it seems to not work so well for people.
Sure, and that's why you have people calling from my recovery group or texting. It's like, what are you doing tonight? I was like, well, I'm writing music. I'm a creative genius. And it's like, yeah, I'll see you at the meeting, you know, or we'll see you soon, and just get all uppity with yourself and the connection of, and it's always do step work with other people that I'm helping and involved in the running club down here. That's mentorship in that, and Street Symphony mentorship, and it's connection, but man, I love my alone time. Yeah.
Has your music changed throughout this? Like, what kind of music are you working on right now?
I'm working with Street Symphony right now. I did a brass piece with them. There's a record that I just got emailed through a woman named Shirley Oak, and my composition instructor is her friend Rena Ismail, Indian singer and composer, and they have a record coming out, and I get to have one of my pieces on that. One of my mentors and friends, Kim Plannard, who did the score to the Skid Row Marathon, he's guided me through orchestration, and I've co-orchestrated his new record that's coming out, and some other projects that I can't talk about right now because with him, and he's, man, and my music life has changed from I always liked a lot of music, being a metal guy to being this, you know. I don't know if it's classical music, but it's wide open.
Yeah, I listen. Yeah. I spent some time on your SoundCloud over the weekend. There's some good stuff in there. Oh. I like the I am always a sucker for cello. I'm always a sucker for strings. So there's one that had this really beautiful string arrangement, like. And then I heard some metal, and I'm like, he's got some good stuff going on here. Like,
I like a lot of kind of music.
It was cool. So you mentioned before that the mission kind of, it's a home. It has a special place, like, you know, and you go back, and I know you give back. Why is that important to you? Like, why is it still home, or, you know, what's that connection?
Because if I feel that life is getting really good, and there's a lot of homeless. I live in Hollywood. There's a lot of homeless out there. And if I start thinking, why are these assholes laying here on the ground outside? And my life is getting good because now I can't take you guys, you people, being out on the street. Go back down to Skid Row. It's like, well, I am these people. I am you people. And that's me. And I have to remember that this is where I come from, because I had the Shishi treatment centers. I did all that stuff. And I went to ground zero, and thank you, God, for striking me with sobriety. And I have to remember that this is it. This is where I come from, you know? And I have to be reminded of that as many times as I can. be reminded of it. Did I answer the question? Because
Yeah,
I started going
yeah, like
weird again.
yeah. Well, I'm hearing there's just gratefulness, and there's a pull, like a gravitational pull that like reminds you to like keep it real in the world, like be humble, you know, like
be humble.
you are. We talked about this in the last show. You are me, and I am you. You know, like that connection is pretty intense, and if you're reminded of that, and like you act differently when you look at people like, hey, we're like each other, you know, and I think that feels good to most people. Like once you experience life like that, it's like, yeah, you know, like I can be empathetic. I can connect to something greater than myself, which I would think would be helpful in music too. Like now you got all this access to like life and people and stories. And,
for sure.
Yeah, richness. And so yeah, I get it. I mean,
but if you're looking at a guy to feel for kind words and feeling sorry for you in recovery, I'm the wrong guy, because it's like, yeah, I did all that, and look at you, come here, and it just
you're the hard love guy.
Well, I mean, that's how I learned.
Yeah.
You know, it's like everyone helped me along, and they didn't enable me, but they helped me at so much, and it's like, well, everything's going to work out because it always does, because you'll help me, and I'm going to, since I'm a people user, I'm going to do that. So, and now it's like, come here, and then I just put the, what do we call it, the velvet hammer of justice on it, and I love you guys, but you know, but
I can only imagine. I feel I can only imagine how like you were when you got there, and like, and so they had to be that way with you, and now you're like, okay, good, I get to be this person again, and like show you what's up. Like
it's all out of love, you know. It's just stop it, and just. It's me talking to me, you know, stop it. Don't you see that this, I see it happen to friends that I was in bands with, that I saw on the road, that were the worst of the worst. And now they're leading these lives because of this process. And now, but I'm different because I'm unique. And that's another grandiose, uppity, self-centered nonsense. And I see it work, and I'm not buying into it, and oh, it can't work for me. But I'm talking to me as I see the guys. Is like, dude, you know, you saw me when I come in. A lot of you saw me. I don't know what it is I think I'm doing, but you saw what I looked like when I came in. Definitely not that guy. So let's go. And I'm a tough love guy, you know, just not happy with anything with what you're doing. Do it like me, just being again, self-centered. I'm being very sarcastic right there.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay. I see the eyes.
Okay.
Can we talk a little bit more about homelessness and go back to that? Just so I live downtown. I live 2 blocks away from where we are right now. I see it everywhere. It feels like it's getting worse in many ways. Like it's not just Skid Row. It's in different places that, you know, the tents under the bridges and such. Like, is there, and I know there's not a one size fits all. This is a big question and to a big problem, right? But we'll just talk it out the best that we can. Experiencing it, being down there, having empathy, connecting with these people. Like, what can you tell a person that's never been homeless to have to be more empathetic when they pass someone by, or you know, be able to, like, you know, give them something, you know, like, what is it? Like, how can we help each other? It's not even, I mean, people that are not homeless don't need to be helped, but like, how can we help a person that's not homeless understand that a little bit better and be better when they see these people, you know? Like, what can we do? Again, I know this is a big question.
These people, I see.
No, it's
busting your balls. No, I just, how can, that's the $1 billion question now, right?
Yeah.
And for me, from my own experience, there's resources that you can go to. Downtown is such a hard question. This thing is a boiling pot right now, and it's going to explode. And you can't throw money at it, because I was involved in a certain event, and everyone was really happy about all the money that was allocated down to Skid Row. Well, I don't see anything happening down here other than more tents and more anger and more violence, and a lot of it's mental health. There's a lot of people down there with mental health issues that just don't know better. There's a lot of people with addiction that don't want to be sober. There's a lot of people with addiction, and how the hell do you get off? How the hell do I get off of heroin? It's just really bad. It hurts. I don't want to be this person. So you have that, and you have this mix up, and you have people coming down to where I'm gonna feel good about myself, and I'm gonna drop off a lot of food. There's plenty of food on Skid Row. That's not an issue. Everyone's eating 6 times a day. We're good. How do you get doctors to come down and open up more mental health clinics? How do you get these giant warehouses that are empty? How about there's money that's allocated out there somewhere. I don't know where it is. How about everyone gets a bed for a night and get the hell out the next morning at night? I don't know. I'm just ripping right now.
Yeah, no.
But it's going to blow up. And there's a lot of good people who are working down there. Officer Dion Joseph, God bless you, dude, if you're watching.
I know he's
that dude's my hero.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good people trying to fight the good fight. There's services you can go to, but how do you clean that up? Or don't when you're out and you happen to don't feed someone your half-eaten sandwich and feel good about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. We're people, and it's just like, how would you treat a puppy? You wouldn't treat a puppy like that. It's hard because some people don't want to be better. They want to run game and crime, and how do you separate all that from people who want it or don't? There's families that are just 2 paychecks away or a paycheck away from being homeless. How the hell do you separate that? Somebody gets sick, something happens to the husband, wife, whatever, bang, now you're at the Union Rescue Mission.
Mm-hmm.
Now how the hell do you get out of there? I mean, oh my God. I wish I had an answer, man.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Now it's so bad here, and the cost of living is insane.
Yeah.
And rent is up. Now you have people living under freeway passes where it used to be contained, for lack of a better word. Now it's right there, man. And it's like anything in time, I believe, like any other civilization, it's happening again until finally everyone's had enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to tell you what I heard and all that. And you've said it all through this, is like, there is no they or you or me. Like, everybody's everybody. Like, everybody's people. And when we realize that, like, part of us is hurting by not doing something about this, like, that's maybe more people there, not sandwiches, more people creating programs and creating, like, some opportunity for people to take a path towards moving on, right? So I almost heard too, and you sharing that, is it's easier for a person that knows that they have to go through recovery because a program exists for that. But if you're not willing to accept what it is that got you there, and if there's mental health issues in it, like, that's a very hard. You can't do that alone. Like, there's not a program for them. So it's program people over and over and over again, and all of us realizing, like, this is not getting better, and we need to be a part of it. Like, this is my community. I live here. Mm-hmm. Like, what can I do? And maybe being more diligent about, like, questioning our local officials about, well, what's really going on? Because, like, we hear, as a resident in downtown LA, I hear, like, oh, there's enough beds for everybody that's homeless. But yeah, I hear it all the time. But the issue is that some places won't let you check in if you're on drugs, or if you have things in, like, weapons or whatever. They're not going to let you take those possessions in. But there's a bed for you, but you'd have to put all your stuff aside. Mm-hmm. That's part of what we hear. But I have heard before, yeah, sandwiches were good. It's programs, it's people. It's like, maybe mentors. Like, if every person that lived in downtown had a relationship with one person that was at a mission, and diligently visited them, even if you had to give hard love and they're like, what are you doing here? I don't want you here. Like, but like, committed to that. Like, maybe that's part of it. Because it's not just money, and it's definitely not just sandwiches.
No, mentorship is a great thing, but how do you pair up people?
Yeah.
I'm part of Skid Row Running Club. Judge Craig Mitchell comes down.
Yeah.
Hated him when I first met him. He's a judge. Hated him. But his mentorship program in this running club, by just running, I'm going to show, we're going to run.
Yeah.
And now we have this network of people to where, oh my God, and there's you can't keep sober by running, but you have a network of people to where some mentorship going down there. You have to buy into the recovery process or not, however you do that. But mentorship's cool. I think, however that's an avenue. Shit, let's try that. Let's get some. How can we get a pool of doctors down here? How the hell do you set that up? And I don't know, man. I mean,
that's the big question, because we don't. Our healthcare system
sucks.
Yeah, it's so bad as it is. It's like now we need to. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we're gonna parade about. I don't want to sound like an idealistic hippie, but
But we do live in California, Ben. That's where we're accused of, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We were talking about this off camera.
Yeah. Just man, there's billionaires with homes that are costing $77 million up there. They're wiping their butts with, whatever, and they got gold robots or whatever the hell they're doing up there, and you got a whole community of people dying out here. I mean, how can you tell them, give me some of your money so we can save these people? How the hell does it work, And there's a lot of good people down there trying to fight the fight and trying to come up with a solution. But oh man, it's a mess.
But it's almost like they're part of a war, because they can only give so much and they get burnt out. So we need to replace them. Like the people that are fighting that fight, that are down there running the missions or programs and stuff, they need support to keep doing that. They need to be replaced or be able to go somewhere so they can refuel and come back into it. So I hear people in programs it's like, yes, money. Yeah, but if we had people in programs, that were constantly like, okay, how do we serve this group that has this need, and that would help.
But there's also people, and it's funny, programs. There's a lot of men and women who are running programs as a way of life. I'm going to stay here for a year and a half. Then I'm going to save my money. I'm going to get loaded. And I'm going to tear it up, and then I'm going to go to the other mission across the street. Do that for a year and a half, then I'm going to go down the street and stay here for 2 years, save it up, rip it down. I'm going to go up to this one, and so you got an 8-year cycle, 9, 10 years, and you're at step 1 again. I'm back here, the first place I visited it, and it's just the cycle and the cycle and the cycle, and I did a poli-sci paper to where I had to interview some people, and they were very candid with me. It's like, why the hell should I work? I got GR and SSI, and I've got a place to stay. Like, well, I don't know. I mean, please don't get it that where I'm saying all that's bad, GR, SSI, and I said, but how do you separate that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just there's a scam and a get down for all that stuff. How do you separate it and then try to help somebody?
Yeah.
Are you being played?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just there's some criminal stuff. I mean,
I hear you. And there's good examples, there's bad examples, and then there's everything in between. And we can't make policy just because we have a couple of these bad stories or people taking advantage of it, because that's sometimes tends to happen. Someone will go in and go, oh, look at this, is people taking advantage, so therefore we're not going to do anything.
Yes, and that's what happens when that happens, and you have people who are fighting the good fight and had those good ideas and intentions. It's like, well, screw it. Oh, this is what's happening, so F it. Why am I going to even bend over backwards anymore? I'm just going to collect a paycheck, and that's, I've tuned out, and it's frustrating. I don't see how some of my friends that were in the program at the mission have worked the mission. It's like, good God, it was so draining and tiring, and there's a few people that still work down there. Like, God bless you for just being able to survive that, and the mental anguish. And again, Officer Dion Joseph, how the hell do you stay out here 20 years with the heartbreak and insanity? And he's out here fighting it every single day. And how do you keep pushing? And how do you bring along other people and buy into that? And I don't know, man.
All right, let's talk about music.
Yes,
we could do documentaries about this. We could talk about this. Like we need more people concerned about it, I think, is if anything, because there's all these different cases and examples. But where, like, if we got like big and dreamy, like music and things that you want to do you set goals? I mean, do you have some things that you're like, this is what I want to do? Like,
oh boy, the goal for me right now musically is to be able to make a living so I can take care of my family.
Yeah.
So my wife is footing the bill for most of it, and she's like, chase your dream. And she's like, oh my God. So yes, that, and to get her to, so I can support my family.
Yeah.
And because she's, man,
How'd you
she's
meet?
great. I met her when I lived at the Midnight Mission, 3 months in, and I was going to a recovery meeting, and we were friends.
Yeah.
And I've never, my way of life was, I didn't like women so much, and I had a whole set of belief systems, and she was my first honest female friend, to where it's like, hey dude, man, ha ha ha, you know, and guy stuff, and then she knew everything about me, and it was like that until it wasn't one day. Like, oh my God, really? This is happening? And we got married almost immediately, because we know everything about each other.
Yeah.
So and it's like, she's kind of weird because she knows everything about me, and she still bought into the marriage thing.
She still loves you.
She says she does, but
I think she does.
Yeah, she does.
I've had some emails with her.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure she does.
She's good. She's
Yeah.
awesome. What was the original question?
Music,
music.
dreamy.
Oh,
you answered it.
To work as hard as I possibly can with
Take
the
care of your
opportunity.
family, and
I've been giving a lot of opportunities, and I said it's not a one-man operation. I have Kim Plannert teaching me things about the film side of it, and being a mentor, and Vijay Gupta in the Street Symphony, and Rita Ismail, my comp instructor, and Professor David Garner at San Francisco Conservatory of Music, and they've this whirlpool of helping me, and I just want to learn and not take for granted any of the opportunities that I've been given. And things are going upwards, but man, I just want to work, and I love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And from being the person I was and the life that I lived, I deserve a kick right in the nuts, you know, out of all that. But I've been given this wonderful opportunity, and I don't want to let myself down. I don't want to let them down, and I want them to know that I'm working as hard as I possibly can, and on something I love.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Since we covered a lot here, I'm going to give you a little break. I'm going to ask you an off-topic, it's sometimes quite silly question, just to have a little fun before we end our time together. Okay. So let's see. Actually, you can pick it.
I have no idea what to expect, or hopefully something really horrible.
Yeah. They're very goofy. They're fun though.
Okay.
Okay. Well, this is so I love this box because it either stays right with us on topic, or it's like, oh no, we're going off topic. This is kind of on topic, I think. When did you get in the most trouble as a teenager?
It really didn't. My whole life didn't blow out. Probably teenager. Well, in high school, I set fires.
You set fires?
Yeah, well, yeah. And I got busted for pot at school. Yeah, there was really not. Did I get arrested as a teenager? I got arrested, I think, at 19 or 20, coming back from Mexico in El Paso, and we'd been up for days, and I thought it'd be a great idea to jump on the hood of this guy's car and just crush it down. And then the cops came, and I woke up. It went from a giant melee, a brouhaha, to waking up in jail, just my pants torn off and laying there, you know, just frayed. And I thought, it's like, yeah, it's a felony time, and it's like, what happened? So I mean, that was, yeah.
If you had teenagers now, would you be that tough love dad? And you're like,
no, because my dad was tough love, or just hands off or hands on. But I don't think that works. I think that being very open to where my household, a lot of things everything was off limits. We don't talk about that. And I think of being very open, maybe not kumbaya and everything is going to be all right. I think I would be a very open, everything's open, man.
Yeah.
Talk like a friend.
Yeah.
You know?
I believe in that too. I grew up in families that they kind of don't talk. Like they hold grudges for like decades.
We don't talk about feelings.
And I think that it's been proven medically and scientifically, like that stuff is the stuff that gets buried, and then you got to deal with it later at some point. Like the trauma, the sadness, the anger, whatever it is, like, it doesn't go away, and at some point, you know, so the more that we can talk it out, the better. It's just like a release. It's kind of like why I cuss. It's like as soon as I cuss, I don't really.
Oh man, I love cussing.
Yeah, right. Like I do too, you know. But as soon as I say it, I'm done with whatever emotion was attached to it. It's like it's gone, you know. So I think talking it out, you know, it doesn't have to be kumbaya talk out, but at least like, hey, what's going on with you? Let's talk about this, you know. Yeah. Why are you acting that way? You're acting like a jerk, you know, like that kind of thing. Yeah. All right. Well, we're almost to the end of the show, and there's just one last thing that like asking the guests to do, and we call it a heart swell. And what it is just a chance to like give a shout out, you know, tell somebody that they made a difference in your life, you know, just give them some good words, some love. You know, the reason that I ask people to do this is like I'm hoping that other people see us do it, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to call somebody that I haven't talked to in a while and do that too, because I think we need this. It's you know, this talking and like letting people know that you've made a difference in my life, you know, that you're special. So. Are you first willing to do it? Yeah, it may be a little lengthy, but yeah. Yeah, you can do it. We got the time. Okay. You can take all the time you want. Yeah, hopefully everyone finds it's cheesy and F you. So go ahead. Say to whoever. For the people that I get to meet in my life today was all brought about in I guess the shout out. Bill W. and Dr. Bob, who brought this way of living and gave it to us so we can live on this, man, so we can have this new way of life, so in order we can help others. I've been given a great opportunity. We all have been, but thanks. It just went, I had so many great things to say. As you were saying that, I was thinking, here's my genius. And now it's, it's okay. the recovery process for being able to give people like me, people like myself, a way to get out and help others. So there's so many people to mention, but thank you, Bill W. and Dr. Bob. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, Ben, I appreciate your candidness. I appreciate you. There's sometimes I wish people could kind of feel what I feel when we get to sit down and talk to people. And like what I feel with you is you were here in this room with me. Like you were very in the now, you know, just like, this is who I am, you know, and like feels like a gift just to like spend time with you being in the now, you know. You're as real as it gets. Like, that's what I keep telling my wife. Yeah, you know. I think she knows. I think she knows. So I appreciate you being here. We get to do one more thing together. I did mention earlier, we usually do like a social challenge of the week. And I did mention earlier that I'd like people as they get together to like, you know, reflect on an underdog story. I think it'd be cool as we're getting together with our families and friends, just to like, you know, like what's your favorite underdog story? Do you want to add to anything like that? Like as a social challenge or a question you think it would be cool as people get together for this 4th of July holiday? Like what should we be talking about? Anything else like tough question or? No, oh man. Little gratitude of where we are today, the opportunities we're given, and for the people who are out here, we're rather lucky, man. And we can complain about a lot of things, and I don't think that I think we take for granted a lot of, I'm not going to get all political because I stay out of that, but we take for granted a lot of stuff, and we have it pretty good. And for those of we can always give back and help those in need and less fortunate. We all have it pretty good. Mm-hmm. So let's, you know, next time you pass by someone, look at this asshole down here, for lack of better words. I like cussing, so yeah, it's fine. It's like that's someone's son or daughter. You know, that's what did you look like when you were, you know, young? And that's someone's son or a daughter, and maybe we can help somebody. Yeah, well put, Ben. Thank you for being here today. I'm going to share out all Ben's links. I want to get the name of the poet, the that you mentioned. It was Bluebird.
Bluebird by Charles Bukowski.
I'm going to try to find that and share that in the archives because I'm curious to read that. And then Ben's website is benjaminjshirleymusic.com, and we'll share all of that in the archive so people can find out about you. You can listen to his music on SoundCloud, all kinds of good stuff that I'll get to share to expose you to Ben's music and his work that he's doing, that he continues to do with the mission and the outreach down there. So
thank you.
I really appreciate having you here. Happy 4th. Next week, guys, I'm going to have Liz McTan on, and she's a new mom, and we're going to talk about maintaining relationships with friends that don't have children. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. Until then, everybody enjoy your 4th of July. And as always, just relate with more curiosity. Be more curious with people. Happy 4th. See you next week.